I thought I had seen every survival strategy in the galaxy. 43 cycles as chief examiner for the Galactic Defense Initiative, and I had watched thousands of candidates fail the Predator test. Some froze in panic. Others ran screaming. A few tried to fight, which, let me tell you, never ends well when you are facing a Krell Hunter program to track and eliminate. But this human? This soft, pink-skinned creature named Marcus Webb? He did something I had never witnessed before. The test chamber stretched 3 kilometers in every direction, a simulation of the deadly marshlands of Vexor Prime. Thick vegetation, murky water pools, and the ever-present mist that reduced visibility to maybe 10 meters on a good day. We had lost candidates in this environment. Actually lost them, as in their bodies were never recovered. The Krell Hunter was that efficient that I watched from the observation deck, mandibles clicking with what my assistant, a nervous Plixian named Torv, insisted was my version of amusement. Beside me, Commander Velk of the Xanthari Defense Corps leaned forward, her 3 eyes narrowing at the display screens. Another human volunteer. Velk hissed, her serpentine tongue flicking with disdain. They always think they are special. Remember the last one? Lasted 4 minutes before the hunter ripped through his hiding spot like it was paper. I remembered. That one had been named Jackson. Poor fool had tried to climb a tree. The hunter had simply torn the tree down. Marcus stood at the starting point, checking his standard-issue survival pack. No weapons, of course. That would defeat the purpose. The test was not about fighting. It was about surviving. About thinking. About proving you had the instinct to stay alive when everything wanted you dead. Timer starts in 30 seconds. I announced through the speakers, my translator converting my clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. The hunter will be released from the north perimeter. Your objective is simple. Survive for 1 standard hour. Good luck, human Marcus. He looked up at the camera, and I swear, he smiled. Smiled. Like this was some kind of recreational activity instead of a lethal examination that had a 97% failure rate. The buzzer sounded. Marcus did not run. That was the first surprise. Every other candidate bolted immediately, trying to put distance between themselves and the starting point before the hunter arrived. Not him. He crouched low, scanning the environment with those strange, forward-facing eyes that humans possessed. Then he did something bizarre. He grabbed a handful of mud from the swamp edge and began smearing it all over his exposed skin. His face, his neck, his arms. Within 2 minutes, he looked like he had been dipped in brown sludge. What is he doing? Torv squeaked, his tentacles quivering with confusion. Is this some kind of religious ritual before death? Velk laughed, a harsh sound like metal scraping stone. Panic response. His primitive brain has shut down. This will be over quickly. But I was not so sure. There was something deliberate about his movements, something calculated. He was not panicking. He was preparing. The hunter was released. I watched its heat signature on the tracking display, a bright red dot moving swiftly through the marsh. The Krell Hunters were bred for one purpose only. Track. Kill. Repeat. They had thermal vision, motion sensors, and an olfactory system that could detect a target from 2 kilometers away. They had never failed to find their prey. Marcus finished his mud coating and moved into the marsh, but he did not move like the others. He did not run in a straight line or try to maximize distance. Instead, he waded into the deeper water, submerging himself up to his shoulders. Then, using some kind of hollow reed he had fashioned from the local vegetation, he breathed through it while remaining almost completely underwater. Clever, I muttered, masking his heat signature and scent. Velk snorted. The hunter will still find him. It always does. Motion sensors do not lie. But Marcus was not moving. Not in the way the sensors expected, anyway. He floated, using minimal energy, letting the water carry him slowly downstream. Every few minutes, he would surface just enough to scan his surroundings, then submerge again. The hunter reached Marcus's starting point in 6 minutes. I watched it circle, sensors sweeping, searching for the trail. It picked up the human's scent immediately, those massive nostrils flaring as it processed the chemical signature. Then it began to track, following the scent toward the marsh. This was usually where candidates realized they were doomed. The moment the hunter locked on, it was relentless. Unstoppable, but something strange was happening. The hunter reached the marsh edge, sensors flashing and beeping with confusion. The scent trail ended at the water. The thermal signatures were scattered, distorted by the temperature of the swamp. The motion sensors detected nothing but drifting vegetation and small aquatic creatures. The hunter stood there, massive head swinging left and right, searching for something it could not find. Marcus was 30 meters away, barely visible beneath the murky water, breathing through his improvised reed. Not moving, not panicking, just waiting. Torv's tentacles were tied in knots. This is impossible. The hunter should have found him by now. Its systems are state-of-the-art. Military-grade tracking technology. Unless, I said slowly, the human found a way to exploit the system's limitations. Velk leaned closer to the screen, her confidence wavering. He cannot hide forever. Eventually he will have to move, to breathe properly, to make a mistake. 20 minutes passed. The hunter expanded its search pattern, moving through the marsh with increasing frustration. Its programming had never encountered a scenario like this. Prey that simply vanished. Meanwhile, Marcus remained submerged, patient, using that reed to breathe. I had to admit, I was impressed. The level of self-control required to stay underwater, in a hostile environment, knowing a killer machine was hunting you? Most species would crack under that psychological pressure, but there was more to his strategy, I realized. Every time the hunter moved away, Marcus would surface briefly, check its position, and then adjust his own location, always staying downwind, always using the water to mask his presence. He was not just hiding. He was tracking the hunter, predicting its search patterns, staying one step ahead. Remarkable, I whispered. He is treating this like he is the predator and the hunter is prey. 30 minutes into the test, and Commander Velk was no longer laughing. Her scales had shifted to a pale purple, which in Xanthri physiology meant she was either deeply confused or mildly terrified. I was betting on both. The hunter had circled back to the starting point 3 times now, its programming clearly glitching. This was not supposed to happen. The machine had been designed by the finest military engineers in 5-star systems. It had tracked prey through ion storms, across vacuum-sealed stations, even through dimensional rifts. But one muddy human in a swamp? Apparently, that was beyond its capabilities. This is humiliating, Velk muttered, her claws scraping against the observation console. When this gets out, the entire Xanthri military will be a laughingstock, defeated by primitive camouflage techniques and a breathing tube. Torv was vibrating with excitement, his usual anxiety replaced by something resembling joy. But do you not see? This is brilliant. He is using the environment itself as a weapon. The mud masks his scent. The water disrupts thermal tracking. The minimal movement defeats motion sensors. And that reed, that simple hollow plant stem, allows him to remain submerged indefinitely without creating surface disturbances. I clicked my mandibles in agreement. It is not about superior technology or physical strength. It is about understanding the hunter's limitations and exploiting them. Classic guerrilla tactics. Guerrilla? Velk's translator seemed to struggle with the word. An Earth term, I explained, accessing my database. Warfare conducted by small groups using hit-and-run tactics, ambushes, and knowledge of local terrain to defeat larger, better-equipped forces. Humans apparently perfected this over thousands of years of constant warfare on their home planet. 45 minutes elapsed. The hunter was now actively malfunctioning, its search algorithms caught in recursive loops. It kept returning to the same locations, scanning the same areas, finding nothing. Somewhere in its mechanical brain, error codes were probably multiplying like bacteria. Marcus chose this moment to make his move. He had been observing the hunter's patterns, noting every repeated behavior, every predictable turn. Now, as the machine swept past his position for the 4th time, he silently slipped out of the water on the opposite side of a dense vegetation cluster, still coated in mud, still moving with deliberate slowness. He began making his way toward the extraction point. Not in a straight line, of course. That would be stupid. He zigzagged, using natural cover, staying low, pausing frequently to listen and observe. He is going for the objective, I said, leaning forward. Bold, foolish, Velk countered. The moment he moves with purpose, the motion sensors will lock onto him. But Marcus was not moving with purpose in any way the sensors would recognize. He was mimicking the movement patterns of the local fauna, the slow drift of vegetation, the natural sway of marsh reeds in the wind. To the hunter's sensors, he was just another piece of the environment, Nothing worth investigating. 10 minutes to go, and Marcus was halfway to the extraction zone. The hunter was still searching the western quadrant, completely oblivious to its prey's actual location. I could almost feel sorry for the machine. Almost. Then disaster struck. Or rather, disaster tried to strike at a swamp serpent, a native creature we had included for additional environmental hazards, detected Marcus and decided he looked like a meal. 3 meters of scaled muscle and venomous fangs lunged from the murky water directly at the human's position. This was it. The moment where survival instinct would override strategy, where Marcus would panic, thrash, make noise, and alert the hunter to his exact location. Every candidate broke eventually. The test was designed to ensure it. Except Marcus did not panic to in one fluid motion. He sidestepped the serpent's strike, grabbed it behind its head with both hands, and in a move that made even my battle-hardened sensibilities wince, he snapped its neck with a quick twisting motion. The entire sequence took maybe 3 seconds. Silent, efficient, brutal. Then, and this is the part that made Torv actually faint, Marcus tied the dead serpent around his shoulders like some kind of grotesque scarf and continued moving toward the extraction point. By the 7 moons of Xanth, Velk whispered. What kind of species casually kills apex predators and wears them as accessories? The kind that evolved on a death world where everything from the insects to the weather is actively trying to kill you. I replied, pulling up Earth's planetary classification. Look at this. Earth is rated as a Class 12 hazard environment. That is the same category as Vexor Prime during its apocalypse phase. 5 minutes remaining. Marcus reached the extraction zone perimeter. The hunter was still searching the starting area, its programming now completely corrupted by the prolonged failure to locate its target. I made a mental note to have the engineering team run diagnostics. This was embarrassing. Marcus crouched at the edge of the clearing that marked the extraction point, waiting, watching. Even now, with victory seconds away, he did not rush. He scanned the area, checking for threats, planning his final approach. 3 minutes, 2 minutes. He broke from cover and sprinted across the clearing, his mud coating now cracking and falling away like ancient armor. Behind him, the hunter finally detected the motion spike and turned, its system screaming alerts as it locked onto the target signature. Too late. Marcus hit the extraction zone with 47 seconds to spare. The barrier field activated, and the hunter skidded to a halt at the perimeter, its claws gouging trenches in the soil as it tried futilely to reach its escaped prey. Silence filled the observation deck. Torv had regained consciousness and was staring at the screens with all 6 of his eyes. Velk's mouth hung open, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. And me? I was clicking my mandibles in a rhythm that my species reserved for witnessing something truly extraordinary. Marcus stood in the extraction zone, covered in drying mud, wearing a dead serpent like a trophy, and breathing heavily but steadily. He looked up at the observation cameras and gave us a small wave. Test complete, I announced, my voice carrying more respect than I had shown any candidate in decades. Human Marcus Webb, you have achieved a perfect survival score. You are the first candidate in the history of the Predator test to complete the challenge without the hunter ever establishing confirmed target acquisition. Velk turned to me, her scales now a confused mix of colors. How do we explain this to High Command? Our top-tier military hunting machine was defeated by mud, water, and plant stems. I thought about that for a moment, then clicked my mandibles in what my translator would render as laughter. We tell them the truth. We tell them that humans are terrifying not because of their technology or their strength, but because they have spent their entire evolutionary history learning how to survive against impossible odds. They fight dirty, they adapt instantly, and they turn every disadvantage into a weapon. Down in the chamber, Marcus was being escorted out by the medical team, who were checking him for injuries and probably wondering why he was still wearing a dead serpent. As he passed another camera, I heard him say to one of the medics, "You know, we have a saying on Earth. When you cannot beat them with strength, beat them with environment. Works every time." I made another note in my report. Approve human Marcus Webb for immediate advancement to Special Operations Training. Also, request that Earth be reclassified from ally status to handle with extreme caution. Because if one human with mud and a hollow reed could make our best technology look like a child's toy, I did not want to imagine what an entire planet of them could do if they ever decided we were the prey. Torv approached me nervously, his tentacles still trembling. Sir, should we recalibrate the test? Make it harder. I looked at the Krell Hunter, still trying pathetically to breach the extraction barrier, and then at the replay of Marcus casually killing a swamp serpent with his bare hands. No, I said finally. We should not make the test harder. We should make sure we never give humans a reason to use these skills against us. That seemed like the wise decision. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.